So here we are in Substance Painter. And before we get started in here, just want to give a note, right? So it's best before you get in here that you have your materials ready. Okay, so you've gone around, you have your textures and all that. And here in my case, I have in my vending machine labels folder, I have all the stuff that I think I'm gonna need. So I have the labels for the cans, labels for all the bottles, stuff I need for the main machine, right? So they're all here. So once I'm in here, I just import them and things get smoother from there. So first let's bring in the model, new, select, and I want to bring in vending machine 014. And then you can choose your resolution. You can change this at the end anyway. So let's say 2048. I can bump it up to 4K if I need to, or bump it down if I don't need that much resolution. But a good starting point is 2K, right? So here we have it. Okay. Next thing you want to do is bake your texture sets. Okay, so if here I go to texture set settings, let's say bake mesh maps. Okay, so here what Substance is going to do is it's going to look at the model, okay, and it's going to create maps based on the geometry of your model. And these maps are going to be used when you start using the smart materials and smart masks. Um, so based on the maps, it can apply different effects. Say, for example, curvature, it will look at the curvature of your model, and based on that, it'll decide whether it's going to apply the effect there or not. For example, if you want, say, dust here in the crevices only, you would use curvature, or maybe ambient occlusion might help for that also. Okay, so we're not going to use ID. Okay, so this is a list, right, of all the things that we're going to bake. I don't need ID. I might need the rest here. Okay. And in your common settings, you have an output size. Again, uh, the bigger, the more accurate, but then also the bigger, the more RAM and the slower it's going to be. So 1024 maybe. Okay. And then once you're done, say bake selected textures, and then you wait a while. It's going to going through. It's going to go through and all to all the textures. See your normal, your color, ambient occlusion, all that. Almost done. Okay, so they're all done. And I now return to painting mode down here. Okay, and you see now here it's listed normal, world space, and you can see they're all there, right? Go back to layers now. And then you see up here, texture set list. This is what I was talking about earlier. So I have bottles, cans, labels, labels 2, main vending machine, vending gadgets. If I go back into Maya and I show you my hypershade, it's the same thing. Bottles, cans, labels, labels, main vending machine, vending gadgets. It's the same thing here. So now whatever is applied, right? So if all the cans, they share one material, here, they're one texture set. See? So I can hide and show specific things only. For example, there you go. So don't worry about this. That's not going to show up in the final texture. That's just your ambient occlusion working. Okay, so don't worry about that. Okay, don't worry about stuff like that. All right. So the first thing we want to do, let's do the main machine. Okay, so I go to my main vending machine texture set and I turn everything off just so it's easier to work with, right? And the first thing I want to do is make a new layer, and it's going to be a fill layer. Remember, in Substance, you have fill layers, which act as solid layers, and you have a paint layer where you can actually draw something on. So I can do add fill layer, right? And when you do that, it gives you a solid, okay? You can change your color, whatever, right? But you see down here, there's a list. You have color, height, roughness, metallic, or normal. And that basically just is, the list of all the material attributes that you can apply a map to. So in this case, I can turn off height and normal. I don't want to use those. I just want to use color, roughness, and metallic. So this is going to be made of metal. So I'll turn metallic up to 1 and adjust my roughness. So the lower the roughness, the more mirror-like you get. Okay. And the higher the roughness, the more blurred the reflection. You can change this as you go. So let's just start off with 0.5. And for base color, I don't want a simple color. I want to use something that I made. And now we can import our assets. So you go to File, Import Resources, Add Resources. And then let's go look for our stuff. Here we go. So I'm going to import everything I might need. So all these labels, droplets, these guys, gradients, splash, all these other labels as well. So all of these I prepared ahead of time. Say spoof logos. Okay, that seems right. So I'll open them up. And now you have to tell Substance what they are. So right now they're undefined. And just select everything, pick one, and say these are all textures. Okay, so now they're defined as textures. And then you have import your resources for current session, your project, or your assets. So I haven't saved this, so it's just telling me this is my project. If you import it for your session, it'll import it now. Once you close Substance and open it again, it won't be there. If you set it to your project, every time you open that particular project, they'll be there. If it's assets, you open up Substance, whatever project you're working on, they're going to be available to you. Now, these are specific textures for this machine, so I don't need to put them in my assets. I can work in current session or just a project name itself. Okay, let's just save this so you see what I mean. Save as my pending demo. Okay, now if I go back, import resources, let's do all of that really quickly again. Like so. And here we are. Yeah, open it up. Define it as a texture. And then here, you see now it says project my vending demo. So if I want to use that every time I open this, set it to that one. So import, and they are all here. Okay. So what I want is I want this gradient to be here, right? I don't want a solid color. I want blue to light blue, almost white. And what I can do is I can drag that into the base color slot of my fill layer. So I'll just name this base layer. So I can drag that into my base color. And you see it applies, but it applies based on the UVs, right? So the UVs here are different than this guy's UV, then that's UV. To fix that, just scroll up and under fill projection, change your projection from UV to triplanar, and you have a much more uniform gradient. Here I can move it, see, like so. I can even scale it up. If I open up my projection settings, I can scale it up. So that's rotation, scale. Okay, I can rotate it if you want any adjustment, like angling from one to the other, one side to the other, and then just scale that a bit more. Okay, so let's leave this as normal like that. Okay, then on top of that, here we can add a paint layer. That's this one over here. This is your fill, this is paint. And if I scroll down, you see I still have my material attributes. Now I don't want to change anything except color. So I can turn all of this off, right? And I want to keep my color. So by default, I'm set to my paint brush. So I can just paint whatever color is here, right? Now if I go down here to projection, this allows me to specify an image and paint the image onto this object. So with the projection brush, again, I have to turn off what I don't want. I want to project just color, so I turn off height, roughness, metallic, and normals. And then base color is the only slot left. I can put in what I want. So I already have the gradient, and now I want to put, let's say, splash, right? So let's get splash. I can drag that here, and now I have the splash. So I can hold down Alt, left middle mouse to position my object, and then S, left, middle, right mouse buttons to adjust my mask or my projection. If you want to paint in the orthographic view, it's F5, F6, sorry. So let's say let's position this here. With S, I can rearrange this. So it's got a nice splash going this way. And then I just paint that on. If I want to change the size of my brush, I can scroll through here, or better yet, just right click adjust. So I have a bigger brush. Also, good idea to name this. Let's say splashes. Let's go to the other side. Let's get a different splash. And we start painting that. Like so. Then up here, up front, I want, say, this one. So not really a splash, but like a tube of water. Okay, let's do that. So here, interesting, as you can see, it's going through different pieces, right? So it's applying to this piece, this one, as well as these little pieces over here, right? All right, so separate objects, but one continuous texture. If you ever watch The Abyss, something like that. Let's try this one instead. Okay, so press 1 to exit that, and you have this. If you want to go back to your perspective view, it's F5, F6 brings you back here. Now, what about this? Right, so that's just when I painted here, that was a stretch. So you can go to your eraser and just slowly erase that. If you have a pen, that's a lot easier. You just have a pen. So you can slowly erase that. Or if you press F1, you can see the flat layout of your UVs. And you can just erase them here if it's easier for you that way. Right? Okay, you do the same thing here on the other side, just erase it. So F1 gives you a split view, 3D and 2D. F2 is your usual just the 3D view, and F3 is only your texture view. All right, so you can see there's a bit more that I need to clean up here. I'm not gonna do it perfectly because that take a bit longer, but you get the idea, right? Back to F2, F5, so I'm back in perspective. Here we go. So I have all these splashes, and I rendered this in Maya against black. That's why it's very dark. But I can always just switch that to, say, screen, right? And I can double this up, Control D, to get a bit more of the highlights. And I can get another layer, another paint layer, and add my bubbles. So same thing. And I just want my droplets. Let's go for that one. And here I can just paint the bubbles. Just adjusting as I go. Okay, and so on and so forth. So again, just switch this to screen, right? And you got your bubbles going up. So you can do that here and over here on the side as well. I'm not bothering with the back because I don't intend on showing the back. So don't worry about that. Okay, so there's the main vending machine. Next, we can do uh, the labels, the products itself.